So can anybody tell what is the long double data type? Sorry, data type means how many bytes the long double will take. How many bytes a long double will have?
10 bytes, sir.
Yeah, 10 bytes for a Turbo C and maybe 16 for Linux environment. Okay, that depends on the compiler. Mostly 10 and 16. These are the two possible numbers. Then you can verify using the size of operator, right? Already we have discussed. So I wanted you to tell me, in the next class, Dev C++ will consider how many bytes for the long double. Okay, because I have not tested how many bytes it is going to have. But one thing, factorial, no, when you keep on increasing the input, maybe at least above 10, your number is going to exceed beyond the integer range, isn't it? Because integer can hold a maximum of, if it is signed integer, 32,767. If it is a long integer, maybe some other value, but long double is like you will never be end up with an overflow, right? Always there's a possibility of getting a result, isn't it? Is it clear to all of you why I am taking the long double as a return time for the factorial function?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'm just trying to pass the input. I may not be able to give more than 100 or something like that for a factorial. So any integer is okay, sufficient for us. Then I'm writing a logic something like this. If the input n is greater than 0, I'm trying to use a statement called return n star fact of n minus 1, else return 1. So from this, what is that main thing you must understand is, we are defining a function called fact. Within that function, we are making a function call. Is it not a function call? Tell me, is it not a function call? Whatever.
Yes.
So when you call function within itself is called a function recursion or a recursive function. Okay, the very simple definition of a recursive function is whenever a function is going to call itself within this body of the statements, then you can call it as a recursive function. But the thing is, you will never find a recursive function without a conditional a statement, something like if condition or else condition. And also there is a termination point. Termination point means whenever n is becomes 0, 0 greater than 0, true or false? You tell me. 0 greater than false. False means what is going to be executed? Return 1, isn't it? Yeah, else part, which is the return 1. When you say the return 1, there is no more function calls are happening. So in that case, this is called terminating statement for the recursive function. So without a terminating statement in the recursive function, it is meaningless. Otherwise, you keep on calling the function with itself and it will be a never-ending kind of thing. So you will never get an output, and also you'll get an overflow of stack overflow. I'll tell you what is in the stack and all. But always make sure that at least there must be a conditional statement such a way that a terminating statement must be written for end of the subsequent calls for a function. Here fact is going to call. I'll take an example of n equal to 5. If n is equal to 5 in this particular case, okay, I'm passing from the main program n equal to 5. So this n equal to 5, 5 greater than 0. Is it okay or not? True or false?
True, sir.
True.
True. Just not, somebody is waiting. Let me accept. Okay, it is true. When it is true, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever a program is written in the RAM, there will be 4 categories of these places. Actually, I'll tell you what are the 4 categories of the places. Some part of the space is called, this is basically called code. Code means what you write. The program, the whole program, whatever you write, it is going to be stored in this particular memory. This is memory 1. Memory 2 is called data. Means whatever declaration statement you try to declare, so you need some memory to hold the inputs and outputs. This is our second group. And third is called heap, which I have not used so far. Whenever we use pointers and all, that time I tell you what is the heap significance. Then last is called stack. So for every program, your RAM is going to allocate some space, and that space again divided into 4 parts. Each part is given a name. The first part is called code. Immediately next part is called data, then next part is called heap, then immediately next is called stack. I tell you what is the meaning of it. Whenever you try to write a code, so this is a code space, right? I'm trying to zoom this particular box, okay? So only this is a code box for me, only this particular box. So in this, can I say that in this part of the code, the main programming is written. In this part of the code, maybe this is the smallest part. This, can I say, is a function factorial definition? Can I say this way or not? So far I have mentioned that only, no? When functions are defined, the memory allocated for functions will be some other place, and memory allocated for the main will be some other place. Agreed or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So whenever I'm going to execute this particular program, what is going to happen is, first time when n is equal to 5, 5 greater than 0 is true, then if condition is going to be executed or else condition is going to be executed. You tell me. Respond.
If.
Sorry? If condition, right? Under the if condition,
Yes,
what is the
sir.
statement? What is the statement we are writing? Return 5 into fact of n minus 1. What is n minus 1? Is it not 4?
4.
Yeah. The moment you say fact 4, don't you think again the same function is going to be called? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
So then try to remember here, whenever a function is going to be called, assuming that first time I am calling, there's a stack, right? It is going to remember the position, maybe first time stack. Okay, let me have this 1000 address, because I'm exactly don't wanted to scale it. It's a 1000 address. So 1000 address is stored, so that when you come back, it will be 5 into 4. Whenever you call fact 4, I should say that this is a return address for factorial of 5 actually. It's a return address for factorial of 5. When you apply the fact to 4, again what you are calling? N equal to how much? Respond.
4.
4. And you tell me one more thing. Already there was an n which is created with something like 5 for the first time. Second time when function is called, you tell me the same n is going to be used or different n is going to be used? You tell me. I'm unable to hear. There's a lot of disturbances coming. First time when n equal to 5, again you are calling fact of 4, again n is going to be modified or remains 5?
Modified.
It will be modified to the 4, because the 5 was stored temporarily within the registers, isn't it? Or some other temporary memory. Okay. Then when it is 4, again 4 greater than 0, true or false?
True.
Again, what is going to be called? Return n cross. So 5 will be remaining as it is temporary. 4 cross fact of, can I write 3?
Yes, sir.
Again 5 and 4 temporarily stored here. This 3 will overwrite
Yes.
n value, isn't it? So here when 4 is called, the return address will be maybe some 1002. I can call the return address of 4. And when you call third one, maybe it is return address of fact 3. So these are the return addresses actually. Without remembering the return address, you cannot come back. That is a problem. Okay. So stack is a memory location. Whenever a function call is made, after function is executed, to control come back to the place where it was called, there should be some memory. So something like that's called return address. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so stack is going to hold the return address. The number of times the function call is made, so many number of memory locations are filled, isn't it? If infinite number of times, if your recursive functions keep on calling itself, don't you think this memory is exhausted after some time?
Yes, sir.
Then we call stack overflow error. Stack overflow error. Okay. Suppose you have a book of only 5 papers in that, and every paper will give some address to you, and because you are going to a new place, you don't remember, while coming back you'll try to make some landmarks. maybe page 1 landmark 1 is over, page 2 landmark 2 is over, page 3 landmark 3 is over. Like that you go to the till destination. Again when you come back, wanted to come back to a same source position, don't you think that the landmarks which you have written inside the papers will help you to come back, isn't it?
Yes.
So generally you tell me, once you reach the destination, which return address you take first paper or last paper? See, I'm telling you, you are moving from a source to destination where there will be so many turnings are happening, or so many confusions in terms of remembering the path. What you do is you go to a particular place where there is some landmark, you write in on page 1. Then you go to some other place, there is a landmark, you write on a page 2. Like that, up to there are 5 landmarks. After landmark 5, you write in the page 5, you reach your destination. After your work is over at the destination, you want to come back. Which page you refer? The 5th page you refer, or first? Last page, isn't it? So whichever you have remember the last, that you have to come first, isn't it? Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Then once you come back to that position, simply you just tear the paper and just remove from the book. Then how many papers are left?
4.
4. So whichever is filled last, that will be removed first, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we call that concept as LIFO. I think I'll write here. LIFO, last in, first out. That's the meaning it. Whenever you write last in, then you're supposed to get first out. So whenever you keep on writing this way, I'll tell you, this is a fact 5 address, this is a fact 4 address, this is a fact 3 address. Okay, let me have 5 cross 4 cross. When you call fact 3, don't you think you're calling once again the same function?
Yes, sir.
So again this 3 will be overwritten with a 2. So fact of 2. So fact of 2, 2 is greater than 0 or not? True or false?
True.
True, sir.
True. Then return, is it not 3 cross fact of 2? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the return address for 5, this is the return address for 4, return address for 3, return address for 2. Again you are calling n equal to 2 now. I think already I made a mistake. It was once again, okay. So when you make it is 2 now. So 2 is greater than 0. True or false?
True,
True.
sir.
Then again it will be 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into fact 1. Okay, this is again I'm going to call fact 1. So there is a one more address. I try to remember. Maybe this is 1004, 1006, 1008. This is for 1 actually. So when 1 n equal to 1, 1 greater than 0, true or false?
True, sir.
True. Then I'll call return 1 cross. I'll write here 5 cross, 4 cross, 3 cross, 2 cross, 1 into fact of 0. Can I say this way? Again I'll write, maybe this is 1010. Okay, 1010. Maybe this is for 0. So n equal to 0 now. 0 greater than 0, true or false?
False, sir.
So which one is executed?
Else part.
Okay, else part. So in place of fact 1, what is going to be replaced? Tell me. 1. So 1 into 1, what is the result?
1.
So this fact 1 will be replaced by 1, isn't it? Because you are going back, you are going to the 1010 and you are removing this address, because my job is done. Fact 1 job is done, because fact 0 is equal to 1, no? Isn't it? I'll just try to take a red color so that easy for you to understand. Okay, fine. So once these two are multiplied, then I don't need to remember this particular address, because I'm coming back to the fact 2, isn't it? Fact 1, sorry. What is the fact 1 address? Is not 1008? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 1008 you come, you replace 1008 by 1, or you remove the 1008 first of all. You go to the fact 1, you replace the fact 1 by 1. So what is left out? 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, isn't it? After that.
Yes, sir.
Again, if 1 means you are trying to perform 2 into 1, isn't it? Again, next. This one actually I'm supposed to tell. 2 into 1, what is the result?
2, sir.
2, sir.
It will be 2. So it means you're trying to replace this factor 2. Factor 2 address is this one. So you remove this address. You remove this address and you replace 2 into the factor. How much it is? Sorry, 3 in, yeah. Yeah, 3 into factor 2. Yeah, in place of factor 2, you replace the result with 2, isn't it? Respond. I'm just following the reverse path. Okay, every factorial will be replaced by the recent multiplication. So again, 3 into 2. How much?
6, sir.
So this factorial will be replaced by 6 and this address will be removed. Okay. Again, 4 into 6, how much?
24.
24.
So this fact will be replaced by 24. This address is removed. Again, 5 into 24.
120.
120 will be there. It will be removed. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Finally, this 120 will be. Is it not the result?
5 factorial. Yes, sir.
Because this is actually return statement of this one you are executing, isn't it? Return of 120. When you say return of 120, this long double will go back to your main program. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So whenever you are talking about the recursive function, make sure that too many functions within itself will make a stack will get exhaust and there is a possibility of stack overflow. So to avoid that, make sure that there should be a terminating statement. In our case, when n becomes 0, there is a terminating statement is going to be executed, which is return 1, isn't it? So definitely return 1 must be there in every recursive function. Agreed? Say yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
that I must remember. Now I'm trying to tell you just conclusions. If a function is calling itself, then it is known as recursion. Function fact calls itself. Example, when you have a 4 factorial, it will have 4 into 3 factorial, where factorial is defined in terms of itself. Terminating point is necessary for every recursion, otherwise it becomes infinite recursion. Zero is the terminating point for factorial. Where 0 factorial is equal to 1. In general, n factorial is equal to n cross n minus 1 factorial. If n is greater than 0, it's equal to 1 if n is equal. Is it not the logic what you have adopted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So as long as n is greater than 0, recursion continues. Recursion is suspended. moment n becomes 0. Moment n becomes 0. Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So finally we can write, we can implement a function in two ways. First one is for iterative, using iteration. I think factorial already you have written logic, no, for the factorial. I think even in the yesterday's class also, I think I have, and I don't know whether we have done or not, but I explained, no, in the normal class how to write the logic for the factorial, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now we came to know that we can implement a function in two ways, either using iteration or a recursion. So there are some of the points I just wanted you to remember. So let me take a comparison between iterative function one column function. You are able to see the screen now again?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think due to some technical issue, it was disconnected, but not a problem. Whenever it is disconnected, just let me know. Okay. So if statement is necessary in recursive function, it becomes infinite recursion without it. Okay. It becomes infinite recursion without if. Infinite recursion without if. The most important. Okay. Let me make it up. Okay, fine. So coming to the third point, in terms of the execution, you tell me iterative function is faster in execution or recursive function is faster in execution. As per no, we have already in terms of execution time, it's going to take less time. Yeah, it takes more. Iteration will take more time. This one, according to your understanding, execution is faster in
Recursive
iterative
function.
function or recursive function.
Function.
Why? Why do you feel? Multiple jumps are better than better, or having the statements there itself is better? You tell me. Is it not multiple jumps? Every function call is a multiple jump. Is it branching? I told no. I told an example. You have some work with your friend who is staying much away from you. Maybe 1 hour time it takes for you to reach his house. Then what you are supposed to do, every time you are going there and coming back, going there and coming back. Maybe 10 minutes work is there, but you are spending 2 hours every visit, isn't it? Respond.
Yes, sir.
Whereas the loops means it will be in the same position, right? Maybe within the colony itself. Loop is nearby and the branching is much away from the main program, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now tell me which one is faster? Iterative functions are fast in execution compared to recursive function. Try to remember this. Fast in execution. If somebody is not able to follow, just let me know. What does it mean? Fast in execution as only one function call is made. To get the result. Whereas here it is slow in execution due to several function calls are involved, isn't it? So yes or no? If you respond, then I feel it is connected. Otherwise, the problem. Is it clear? Third point to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So too many statements are required in the iterative function. Too many statements are required in this function. It's iterative function. Whereas in here, we can write recursive function with few statements. We can write recursive function with few statements. That is, coding is otherwise I said a small in size. Okay, coding is reduced or else it is small in size. Okay, this way you can assume. Then the last point, what the last difference between the recursive and iterative functions are, fifth point. Every function call gives a value. Every function call gives a value. Example, fact of 4 directly will give you 24. Whereas here, every function call gives one more function call. Is it clear? Example,
Yes, sir.
if you wanted to call fact 4, it will give you 4 star fact 3, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That is what we have experienced, right, in the previous example. Okay, fine. Then with 1 or 2 examples, we'll wind up for today's class. So first example using recursion. Write the recursive function for factorial. Already have written, so it is not required. But only to verification, I'll rewrite here. Write the recursive function for factorial, which already I have written. But how to understand that? I'm not writing main program. Same thing I'm rewriting long double fact int n. If n is greater than 0, return n cross fact of n minus 1, else return 1. So in terms of the understanding, you should return this way. Note, whenever you give input as a 4, fact of 4, you're going to get first time fact into, 4 into fact of 3. Next time you're going to get 4 into fact, not fact, it is, how much it will be? Respond. 3 into
3 into fact 2.
Fact 2.
2. Yeah, again next will be 4 into 3 into 2 into fact 1, isn't it? Next,
Yes, sir.
4 into 3 into 2 into, yeah, respond.
1
Tell me what.
into
1 into
Ah,
fact
1
0.
into,
fact 0.
very good. After that, 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 into fact
1
0 will
into
give
1.
you 1. So overall it will be 24, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? So there are how many function calls? 5, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There are 5 function calls in fact 4. Main calls fact only once, whereas fact is calling itself for the remaining 4 times. Yes or no? Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm writing the main program, very simple program. So int main hash include, you can write hash include. It should be below the before the function definition, but okay, not an issue. Int main. Then I have declaration statement for the local to the main. Then you have function prototyping within the main also you can do. There's nothing wrong. Long double fact integer. This is a function declaration. Then I'm asking the user enter any positive integer. Enter any positive integer greater than 0. Integer or 0, anything is okay. 0 also it will give 1, so that is the reason, not a problem. Then read the number from the keyboard. Then simply you can use processing is done within the factorial, so you directly get percentile d factorial is equal to percentile d f. It is long double. What is the format specifier? Tell me. What is the long double format specifier? Result. Forgot? Format specifier for long double. I mentioned in the very
Percent
first.
capital L smaller.
Yeah, capital L, small f. If at all you want only one digit of approximation, you can give 0.1. Means 0.0 only it will display. Because a float, no, it will try to display 0.0000 like this, 0. If you want only 10, you can write 0.1 here. There's nothing wrong. Backslash n. Then for this percentile d, it will be n. For the result, it will be fact of n, isn't it?
Yes,
Simple.
sir.
Get ch, return 0 because I made integer. And is this clear? Is it clear? The first program using recursion. So just refer later on. You try to execute this. Now second example I'm trying to write. Recursive function for GCD, greatest common divisor. Recursive function for GCD. Okay, so it is something like if I give a GCD of 12, 15, it will give me GCD, 15, 12. Again, it will give me GCD, 12, 3. Again, it will give me GCD, 3, 0. Again, it will give you 3. This is one logic actually. Example I'm talking about. This is a note I should say. If at all I'm giving inputs 12 and 15, first function call will be 12 and 15, next function call will be 15 and 12. Then onwards, it will be difference, right? Means what is the greatest common divisor between 15 and 12? So it will be 3. Then 12, 3. Again between 12 and 3, it will be 0. So 3, 0. So finally 3 is going to be obtained. This is one way of doing it. Similarly, I will have a second example, maybe 4 comma 7 is given, then it will be coming as 7 comma 4, and first number should be greater than the second number. That is an idea behind it. And again 4 comma 3, again GCD of 3 comma 1 will give you GCD of 1 comma 0. So it goes on. Okay, something like that. So let me write the program now in terms of that. Is it not the logic how you adopt GCD? You perform subtraction one the other, isn't it? Respond. So if not, try to understand this particular logic. If n is greater than 0, return GCD of n comma m percentile n. Else return m, first one, whatever number you are passing, the first parameter. Okay, so it indicates that this particular is as long as the second parameter is non-zero, continue the recursion, whereas this one stop recursion when n is 0, and return first parameter m, and return first parameter m. So this is what the meaning of the logic of finding the GCD. Every time you call GCD within itself with a n comma m percentile n. Okay, that is how it will be done. So you can verify now. Now I'm telling note if GCD of 4 comma 6 is given. In general, what is the greatest common divisor between 4 and 6? Directly, if I ask somebody, how do you say? What is the greatest common divisor? Respond. Between 4 and 6, what is the greatest common divisor?
2, sir.
2, right? So when you perform this particular logic, I'm supposed to get 2, isn't it? Yes,
Yes,
or no?
sir.
Now you tell me, when you pass the 4 comma 6 as the inputs to the particular above logic, just GCD 4 comma 6 will call which function? GCD 4 comma 6 will call which function? Because 6 is greater than 0, isn't it? When 6 is greater than 0, what it is going to call?
GCD
of
6 comma 4.
Yeah, 6 will be first one, then 4 by 6 is remainder is 4, so 6 comma 4, correct. Then this will call 6 comma 4 will call next what? You tell me. 4 is greater than 0, then 4 comma
4 comma 2.
yeah, GCD of 4 comma 2. Again 2 is greater than 0, then GCD of 2 comma
0.
0. Very good. GCD of 2 comma 0, where n is greater than 0 or 0, true or false? Return m, right? What is m here?
2.
4.
2. Here 2, no. This is m, no?
Yes.
This is m comma n. When n is 0, we return m. So 2 is returned. So finally the result is 2, isn't it? So I'm writing the main program. Int is understood. Hash include is also understood. Int m comma n GCD of int comma int printf enter any two numbers, scanf percentile d ampersand of m comma ampersand of n printf GCD is percentile D, because out of the given numbers the GCD is less than that number, so integer is okay. So percentile D, GCD of m comma n, and finally get CH. Okay, just a minute. Finally get CH, then return 0 as per our dev C++. Suppose it is not required because we are going to write void. So is the second program is clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Respond. Okay, fine. Then I am asking you, it is a homework for. It's not assignment, it's a homework. Again, I am telling. Okay. By next class, I wanted to get logic for. Don't look at the textbook or any Google. First, you try on your own, and at least to the maximum extent you try on your own. If you do not get, then you take help. But next class I want a logic for it. Okay. The third example, what I want to write a function for a power b. Write a function to evaluate a power b, where a and b are given inputs. Okay, that is the first one. Is it okay? The fourth example is write a function to generate Fibonacci term. Write a function using recursion. Okay, I'm just topic is recursion, so I'm not writing, but in examination we'll get write a function to evaluate a power b using recursion. Write a function to generate Fibonacci term. Use the function to generate the Fibonacci series. Use the function to generate the Fibonacci series. Okay, so this is one program, and if possible, you write one more. Sum of digits of a given number. I guess you will get it. Sum of digits of a given number. You try. If you don't get, we'll see. Write a program using recursion to get sum of digits. Okay, with this, I'll stop here, and I guess all of you can try. And the next class will start straight away. Only one topic is left in the unit 2, which is called by a function called types. How many ways a function will be called, which I wantedly not covered. The reason is it needs a pointers understanding. So I don't know whether in the next unit we have a pointers or an arrays. So whatever will be the topic, we'll discuss on that. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me stop.